started getting more into cars back when I was in high school sometime. And for some reason, this car was, you know, Fast and the Furious was out and the car was doing great in Time Attack, Evasive Motorsports, Sierra, they're all piloting this chassis. And I used to go on YouTube and watch all the videos and I'm like, man, this car's so fast. And, you know, being a younger kid, I was like, man, you know, it'd be a dream to own one of these cars one day. And I didn't think it was attainable. Here we are.
Alrighty, everyone. Welcome back to the Moto Anatomy. Take two. I'll say it. Thank you so much. Today we have Froylan. Thank you so much, man.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for making time for us. I know it's a very chilly morning, and this is going to be quite an exciting one for me. So tell us, man, what do you drive?
Yeah, this is a 06 Evo 9. I've had it for about 6 years, and how you see it right now is its current state.
And so, why the Evo?
Well, when I was in high school, which is close to the time that I got this, a lot of the big Time Attack teams were piloting this chassis. So like Evasive Motorsports, Sierra, they all were piloting Evos, and I was like, man, dude, that car's so freaking fast. Just seeing it on the track, I was like, one day I want to get one of those.
And so you made that happen. A lot of hard work, you said. Tell us about where you picked it up and how was that, you know?
Yeah, so I was a freshman in college. I had just got my first job, and I needed a car, and
needed a car.
Yeah. So being the crazy person I am, I was searching, you know, for a variety of different cars, from like Scion FRSs, they were brand new at the time. Nissan Z32s were something I was looking at as well. And I just always came back to the Evo. Sure enough, I found this one. The dealer near my school in Orange County listed it, and I went and checked it out like a Wednesday afternoon. I was just like infatuated with it for like the next 2 days. I couldn't stop thinking about it. Sure enough, I went back Friday and nice. I picked it up. Yeah, and it was a struggle at first. I think minimum wage at the time was like $8, so that's what I was making. I had to get like 2 more jobs just so I could afford to pay for it. And yeah, it was a struggle at first, but it paid off, I think.
I'm glad, man. So what do you tell that kid, that young kid who's watching this, who's really young and wants that STI and that Evo?
If you don't have it already, don't do it. No, I'm just kidding. If you do want a car like this, you know, I would say mod it lightly and don't do anything that you can undo. So, I mean, if I had the money at the time when I was just starting out, I think this car would have probably been like slammed in hella flush, because that's what was in at the time, you know? Right. That was the scene. And thankfully I didn't have the time or money to accomplish that goal at the time. So the car stayed pretty much bone stock up until about maybe like a year or 2 ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Wow. For the most part, all I had was like coilovers and wheels for like a couple years, and it wasn't up until recently that I started, you know, changing things.
So tell us about changing things. What was your vision for it?
So, I mean, like I said, when I started out, I really wanted to, you know, scrape frame. No, I'm just kidding.
So the camera should be coming in next week then?
Yeah, definitely. The bags are on the way. No, I think, you know, when I first started out, I was like, hey, you know, one of the things I wanted to do was definitely take it to the track. And I think within my first year of ownership, I did take it out to Willow Springs. I had just put coilovers on the car, and it was a fun time. I definitely got somewhat hooked, but just being a broke college kid, I wasn't able to go out and hit the track as much as I wanted to. So I think I made it a point going forward now is to keep the car as clean as possible, as clean as I can keep it. It is my only car, my daily driver. So I know it's bound to get like rock chips and, you know, damage here and there from these crazy LA streets, potholes, messing up my alignment, you know. So just keep it clean and take it to, you know, the road course whenever I can.
For our daily, super clean.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it.
Super clean.
I try.
Yeah, I can tell. All right, man. So You can tell us a little bit about the front end. What do you got going on?
So yeah, the front end is mostly OEM. Besides the huge aggressive bumper you see there, that's a Voltex street bumper. I just put it on this year sometime, and it was something that I always wanted, but I didn't think it was attainable at the time, just because it's so expensive. Luckily, I did find it for sale in NorCal. Oh, okay. And I was able to pick up a used one from a guy up in NorCal. Shout out to that guy, because he hooked me up with a killer deal.
Did you drive all the way over there?
Crazy, yes.
Crazy, yeah.
I removed the OEM front bumper and I drove 7 hours up north with no front bumper to pick up this one. Got to the guy, put this bumper on, and drove back to LA.
Did you guys exchange?
No, I kept my OEM bumper, yeah.
I just wouldn't. Okay.
It wouldn't fit inside the car. I tried it. Yeah. It wouldn't. And I didn't want to risk trying to get it to flex, because it is fiberglass. So I didn't want it to crack or anything.
Smart guy. So they just drive 7 hours with no front bumper.
Yeah, pretty much.
Shoot. Tell us about the suspension pieces. What do you got going on?
The suspension is something that I'm currently working on. Right now it has a set of blown Fortunato coilovers.
Blown?
Yeah, so they're in dire need of a rebuild. I got the coilovers early on when getting the car, so they definitely need a refresh. But that's all the suspension work I've done to it so far. In the future, I plan to add bits and pieces here as I become more comfortable on the track and get to feel my car and figure out where I need to make those changes.
So speaking of the suspension, what are you thinking? Going with Fortunato again, or some other?
That's a good question. I'm currently not sure. I think ultimately it's what the budget allows, and I would love to, spring for some Öhlins, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, whatever the budget says.
Yeah, whatever the budget says.
But still maintaining a very high quality,
yeah, that's what I try to do. I kind of live by the motto: buy once, cry once. I don't want to deal with like most of the super aftermarket parts. I'd rather deal with something that's like tried and true, that I know it's going to work,
right,
and get my money's worth.
Definitely, that's pretty smart. So wheel and tire setup, what do we got going on?
Yeah, so these are 18x10 plus 30 Volk T37 SLs. Funny story, like these are the wheels that I wanted since I got the car. This is how I envisioned the wheel setup. The tires are Michelin Pilot Sport 4S's. They're 265/35. They're not the most sticky tire compound, but it is a daily driver, so I wanted something that wasn't too bad for the rain and
and budget too.
Yeah, budget too. They're not they're not like our comps where they're like $1,300 for a whole set. So I think it's a kind of compromise on my end.
Cool. I love the color you went with the caliper. What color is it? Thank you.
That's actually a spray can.
No shit.
Yeah.
Really?
I sprayed those in my garage. Yeah.
Wow, they look super clean.
Thank you. It's a Ford green from Duplicolor, I think. So they look teal, which I'm not mad at because they look good.
They look really good.
But the color is Ford green. So I was kind of going for like the Project Mu. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's like Project Mu or something. That's the color I kind of wanted to go for, just because it's different and it kind of stands out. But I think I'm pretty happy with the turnout, and it was my first time like painting calipers.
Cool. Let's make it our way to the back. Speaking of which, are you planning on getting another daily drive or something?
I think everybody says they want a daily, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I would like a daily, but I feel like I have too much fun driving this car every day.
I like that. No, you don't need a daily. You already have.
Yeah.
All right, man. Tell us a little bit about the OEM window visors.
Yep, definitely OEM window visors. I mentioned to you earlier off camera that the JDM bumper was my first mod, but actually the JDM window visors were the first mod. I picked those up as soon as I got the car. I was like, hey, these are so cool. I had never seen another car with them, and I think they're pretty prominent in like the Honda community. A lot of cars, rock those. But they help, man, especially when it's raining. Like, crack the window open a little bit, and you're good to go.
Okay, cool. So it is a useful mod. It's not just for look.
Definitely, yeah. It's come in handy more than once.
Tell us a little about the rear JDM bumper. Where did you pick it up from?
So yeah, the JDM rear bumper was probably the second thing I did to the car. I actually bought it from some guy. out of state, and I don't remember the exact location, but he shipped it on a Greyhound bus. Yeah. So I didn't know you could do that, but I had to go pick it up from a Greyhound station, and the bumper's actually been resprayed because he sent it over and he didn't do a good job wrapping it up.
Oh.
So I guess during transit it got scraped up, and you know, there was paint damage and stuff. But yeah, I had it resprayed. Probably one of my favorite parts of the car. I think like any Evo owner, any Evo 7, 8, 9 owner, regardless of what look you're going for, I think the JDM Evo 9 rear bumper is like the best mod you could do.
Super clean for an OEM option in a sense, right? I mean,
Yeah,
Japanese, but it's an OEM version. There's a lot of thought into it, the way it shaves, the OEM rear diffuser that comes with it. Tell us about the diffuser and then the exhaust system that you have going on.
Yeah, so for the exhaust, from the O2 housing back, I have Busher Racing exhaust. This is I believe it's the race exhaust. Busher is a tuning company in Ohio. They're not too big in the Evo scene anymore. A lot of companies have kind of gone away from making parts for the Evo, but they're one of the OG, I would say, Evo shops out there, and they host a huge event every year. But I hadn't heard this exhaust in person, and I took a chance on it, and I think it sounds really good. And the diffuser you see here is a Rexpeed. I think it's a replica of the Varus.
Okay.
It's a Rexpeed rear diffuser. When I bought it, I couldn't afford the real thing, so I had to compromise, and I think it looks good.
It fits very well.
I think it kind of gives the rear a more aggressive look to kind of match the front of the car. You want to go up that road and then come back down?
Yeah, you don't have to drive too far. Wow. It's quiet. Never mind. Alright, Froy. Wow. The interior is just as clean, obviously. What do we got going on in the interior?
Yeah, so the interior is mostly stock, just the OEM Evo seats. The things that stand out the most is the aftermarket steering wheel. That's a personal 330 millimeter steering wheel. I have 2 gauge pods to monitor AFR and the boost. I also have that IRP shifter there that I had machined off, and I added a Battlecraft shift knob. But as far as that, I've just done some tasteful things here and there, like the carbon fiber
Bezel?
Yeah, the bezel over there for the gauges. I put a double din in the car as well because I needed, Apple CarPlay. I need that GPS. I'm always getting lost. And yeah, it's pretty stock for the most part. But something I do want to point out is probably my favorite part of the car that it was just crazy to find these. Those are titanium Rally Art pedals, and they were an option from Rally Art back in the day. They're no longer made, and I think when I first got the car, people were selling them at retail price, and I kind of slept on them, and Rally Art closed down. I was never able to find another set, and now if you do find a set in good condition, they can run up to $300, $400. Yeah, it's just crazy for pedals, man. And I was lucky enough to find these at a Evo tuning shop in the UK online, and yeah, they're nice enough to send them to the US, which they didn't have to, but they did. So
that's insane, dude. Where the magic happens.
The tried and true 4G63. It's a little dirty, but this is what I've done to the car so far. It has just basic bolt-ons. I did upgrade the radiator because my plastic one was starting to crack. I have a parent intake, ETS, upper and lower intercooler piping. It has an ETS intercooler, and that's about it. It's pretty stock. I did that DC Sports strut bar just for some aesthetic appeal. I painted the valve cover because my old one was getting a little crusty.
The same rattle can color?
Yeah, this is actually VHT, I think. So I think the color palette is just a little different, but I don't mind it. It'll do for now. I do have a spooling up cop. They're the originators of this coil on plug and ignition setup, and it really smoothed out the car, especially at like low RPM.
Mm-hmm.
So you're driving through the mall or whatever, the car doesn't buck as much.
Stock turbo still?
Yeah, stock turbo. Everything's pretty stock. I wanted to maintain like the reliability, and I know I've seen it happen. Evil guys start modding and putting all these crazy parts in their car, and that's when stuff starts breaking, right? So
speaking of which, reliability, how reliable has it been?
I would say it's the most reliable car I've ever owned.
That's the only car you've ever owned.
Exactly. No, so I think aside from what I really like to do is keep up on maintenance. So the car, when I got it, was around 50-something thousand miles. Soon after, I replaced the timing belt, and when the car hit 120,000 miles, I replaced the timing belt again. I've replaced the clutch a couple times. Just staying on top of maintenance, I think, has worked in my favor because I haven't had any like major setbacks as far as the car, leaving me stranded.
Okay.
So I've been pretty lucky in that aspect.
Okay. Are you mechanically inclined?
I like to do all the work I can do myself. So I would say maybe like 80% of the work I've done, with the exception of the clutch change and the timing belt, just because I don't trust myself.
Right.
But everything else, for the most part, I've done.
Cool. What are some of the future plans for the engine compartment?
I think for the engine, I hope to probably upgrade that rusty exhaust manifold. I really want to get something, kind of low key. It'd be nice to get the, really fancy JDM, burn titanium, exhaust manifold. But I live in California, so the cops are pretty crazy around here, and I think I'll get something like a little low key, up the power a bit, but that's down the line.
Okay, you still want to keep it reliable?
Yeah, I want to maintain reliability. Maybe if I get a daily driver, then I'll go crazy with it, but it's not in the works right now.
With the little upgrades that you have done, all the bolt-ons, have you dynoed the car?
The car hasn't been on a dyno. I did have a flash tune done on the car, and I would say that it did nothing more than just to kind of smooth out the car from all the couple mods that I did. But I do want to get it on the dyno sometime next year, hopefully. Upgrade the injectors and possibly switch to 85. So,
boy.
Yeah, we'll see. It should be a party. Yeah.
There goes reliability and.
Oh no. It's supposed to make the car run cooler. There isn't too many issues with the car running on E85 as long as you switch back and forth from 91. You don't want to gunk up the injectors too bad, but yeah, it should be fine.
It will be fun.
Yeah.
All right, Froy. Thank you so much for taking the time and being a positive peer pressure, because now I really want one. Any future plans that you kind of forgot to mention, and any shout-outs?
Future plans, I'd really like to get the car repainted sometime down the line, just because the car is, like 13 years old now. It's starting to show some age here and there. The daily driving it hasn't been nice to it as well. So yeah, I really want to paint it possibly, get new coilovers, maybe switch a couple things up here and there. But I think I'm pretty content where it's at right now as far as like looks. So who knows, maybe it'll just stay the way it is and I'll just like thrash it on the track until it breaks.
Maybe you have an epiphany, stand setting camber again.
Oh, let's hope I don't do that. I doubt I'm gonna do that. No, it's not gonna happen.
I'm glad. Any shout outs, man?
Any shout outs? Yeah, just my car friends here and there. A couple of them you met, like Brandon with the MRS.
Oh, okay.
He's a good buddy of mine.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they know who they are. I don't have to list them out. Yeah, they know who they are. They're my buddies.
I don't think you know who they are. All right. Well, Froy, honestly, thank you so much.
Thank you again, man. Appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
No, thank you, man. Thank you. This car definitely needs way more support. It's stupid clean.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, I try.
Can't wait for the future plans, man. But yeah, definitely keep it on the road.
Yeah, that's the plan. drive until the wheels fall off. Hopefully they don't fall off, but that's the plan.
All right, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Really riding this car. She doesn't really like it.
So right off the bat, it feels so light.
Suspension isn't like
The roads are messed
supposed
up.
to be, but the roads
It's
are
still
kinda shitty,
comfortable.
so-
It's comfortable.
Yeah, I think so. The seats feel like really supportive, especially for being like OEM seats.
Mm-hmm.
They have a lot of like lumbar support right here, especially. You want to go up that road and then come back down?
Yeah, yeah. You don't have to drive too far. Wow. It's quiet. Never mind.
I think if I put the windows a little bit.
Nah, you're good. Shit, dude. That's quick.
Yeah, and it's like basically stock power.
It's a go-kart by the handling.
Oh yeah. Some people get a little.
No suspension pieces? Nothing.
I think I'm gonna add a rear sway bar after this track day, just because the last time I went, it had a lot of like understeer, and you know the stiffer the rear, it'll kind of help it smooth the back out of it. So I think that's what I'm gonna do.
I mean, these cars are very forgiving to begin with because
Yeah.
of four-wheel
And
drive.
I think they're pretty easy to drive. I'm not a like professional driver, but it's a good chassis for sure. And like I'll take you around a turn real quick. And
Shit, that's how
feels,
it ends?
it feels like a go-kart. Like it doesn't have that much like body roll, you know.
Yeah. Very few times I was on the passenger side when my girl would drive her the STI, but I definitely feel the difference in weight.
Really?
Yeah, just by being on the passenger side. And it's not like you're driving it faster. It's just like butter.
It's easy to get in trouble, even with like stock power.
Now, how much do you think you've added from all the bolt-ons, power-wise?
I'd say it probably hovers around like 300. I want to say I could be overly optimistic, but I think it's safe to say like maybe like 280, 290. So not much increase from like stock. 'Cause, like, I think they're rated at like 270 something. But the car feels good, and the turbo is a lot more responsive.
Wow. Pretty crazy.
It's just a straight. It's the next one.
I think so, yeah. Whew. Yeah.
Feels good, right? It's fun.
That's crazy. And it's just like you said, near stock power. What kind of clutch are you running?
It's an ACT HD SS, I think it goes. I think that's what it's called. But it's not a super like heavy
standing up to.
Yeah, I would definitely say.
It's crossing.
I would say it's a little heavier than stock, but it's easy to get used to.
It won't kill you in the traffic.
Yeah. I think driving any car, any like manual transmission car in traffic isn't, the most fun experience, but I've been doing it for 6 years now, so just used to it.